Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's a Town of Pierson workshop for Wednesday, March the 5th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Yvonne, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Gray Leonard.
Here.
Vice Mayor Robert Greenland.
Here.
Councilwoman Lenny Richardson.
Here.
Councilwoman Brandy Peterson.
Here.
Town Attorney Scott Simpson.
Here.
And Ryan and I are present along with the town clerk.
Okay. Lenny, would you please lead us in?
Absolutely. Let us pray. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for another glorious day you have bestowed upon our wonderful community. Thank you especially for this little bit of rain. Every little bit helps. Dear Lord, I ask you to please guide and inspire us to make the best decisions for our town as a whole. Dear Lord, I also pray especially for anyone involved in the inner workings of our great town. And I ask these things in your great name. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number 4 is new business. It's an employee workshop. Workshop was called by Councilwoman Wendy Richardson. So at this time, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Okay. So yes, there's been some things that we've needed to kind of iron out. I'm glad Scott is in attendance that he can answer some questions for us. Been issues historically with things not getting done in a timely manner, without having to be hounded about issues. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to go over our personnel rules and regulations and iron out some of these details.
That's good. Does everybody have a copy of your personnel rules and regulations?
Yes, sir. I do.
I don't think we need to go through the appendix. I mean, if we can't go over the content.
I thought, maybe we'll just start page 4 of 27.
Okay.
And maybe, anyone that has something marked, we can bring that up and discuss.
One thing I have highlighted is section 3 of employee responsibilities. And one of them is coming to work regularly, on time, and beginning work immediately. And I'm not saying that our guys don't start, fairly promptly and stuff. But one of the problems I have, I believe that they might knock off a little early sometimes. I know I've seen our public employees, myself, going to the work barn between 3:30 and 3:40 in the afternoon. I don't have any idea what time they left the work barn, but I know that they went by the post office at around 3:30 and 3:40 going to the work barn.
What are their hours?
Their hours are 7 to 4 with 1 hour lunch break. Is that correct?
Do you always take an hour?
Yeah. Most of the time we don't take an hour. Too much stuff, you take an hour all
Go ahead, listen.
And also, I do have to leave some days to go pick my kid up from after school activities. I have a son from the elementary school. I have nobody else to do it.
Okay. What time do you normally do that, Dustin?
It's anywhere between 3:30 to 4 o'clock, depending on whenever their teachers decide they're done with choir practice or theater.
Anybody have any input on that?
On page 4.
No, on leaving early to pick your child up. I
Oh.
don't really have a problem with that, especially if you take a 30-minute lunch break. I don't have a problem.
Well, I mean, even if I take an hour lunch, even if it's at 3:30, I generally get pick them up and take them home and come back in.
Okay,
But I'm saying it varies between that time, so, I mean, generally, if I'm leaving, that's where I'm going to. Generally, I'll call and tell somebody that I gotta go pick up my kids.
okay. You let Lewis know?
Lewis knows, or I'll call you mom, or I'll
Okay.
call Cindy,
Okay.
When you only take a half hour lunch, do you document that on the timesheet?
Most of the time I do.
Like, that
I'm
probably,
not even honest, so.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
On page 4, employees are retained on the basis of adequacy of performance, correct inadequate performance when possible, and terminate employees when performance is not adequate and is uncorrected. So I guess we need to start documenting when we have an issue or a problem.
I think we need to start documenting that, and, I've ran into a couple instances myself lately. One of them I was told by the foreman, when I asked him about just some simple tire tracks coming over the baseline on the Little League field, I was told, quote, "I'm not a professional landscaper."
Why not?
Is that not correct?
That's exactly correct.
But my point is, if you're gonna mow that ball field and have it look as good as you can keep it looking, if
All right.
you know there's tracks
My
there,
thing about that
you need
is,
to take care of it.
all right, my thing now is, Public Works Director's supposed to be my boss. He tells me not to do it, then what am I supposed to do? Get yelled at by 2 people?
Well, we're gonna discuss
We're gonna
that
talk about that too.
here
But
further.
while we're on that topic about somebody telling you not to rake it, I was told by the Public Works Director last night that you specifically told him that I instructed you to rake the outfield.
No, I didn't say outfield.
That's exactly, is that not what I was told?
That's what you were told.
I didn't say outfield. I said, cause he pulled up when we got done with it. We were putting the rakes back in the truck. He asked us what we were doing. I said, that Greg told us to go and rake these tire marks up where the grass got stuck on the tires and I turned.
Okay, well, there was obviously some miscommunication there somehow or another. And I personally didn't think that was anything, a big deal to ask you to just rake the tire tracks up so they wouldn't be there when you look down the, first base line. And I don't wanna make a big issue out of it, but I don't like the response. I'm not a professional landscaper. That's kind of a smart aleck response in my opinion, Lewis.
You could have said something to me right then and there. You didn't make it off like it was no big deal. I mean, what else?
Well, I wasn't gonna make a big deal out of it until I was told by the Public Works Director last night that I told you to rake the entire outfield.
Well, if he told you that, then he miscommunicated.
There was some miscommunication going on there somewhere. I don't think I've ever asked you to do anything unreasonable. I've always tried to be as cordial as I can when I talk to you guys. You know,
When you got 3 people trying to do the work of freaking 100, I mean, something's not gonna get done.
well,
And Tom and Stacy both told me that grass marks from the tires where the grass is coming off the tire is no big deal.
okay.
So, I mean,
I thought it looked pretty crappy. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe I'm a little bit too picky. Moving on.
Something else I have on page 4, performing work completely. There we go back to my opening statement, that things are not being kept up with. Spraying weeds, mowing. That too, I guess has to be addressed via a complaint or I don't.
Well, I'm sorry that public works director isn't here today because I would like him to be aware of what's happening, but, one of the things I have about performing, work completely is And I will admit I was mistaken about edging these highways. You guys are 100% correct. It is up to DOT. And we have a guy that's a contractor that's supposed to do that. And I've reached out to him 3 times in the last 2 days to try to ask him when it may happen and who's responsible for picking up the trash. Like, was brought up last night between, Washington Avenue and the elementary school out of the ditches there. And I'm not 100% sure if that's the town's responsibility or if it's part of the DOT responsibility that, Mr. Suber has a contract with DOT to maintain that area of the highway. But I've reached out to him 3 times and I have not heard back from him, so I can't answer that question. Do you guys know whose responsibility it is to pick that trash up? Do y'all normally do that?
When I first started, we never picked the trash up out of the ditches. It was always the state.
It was always DOT.
Back when Herbert was here, we never really took care of it unless we had time to.
What, you mean on 17?
On Highway 17 between Washington Avenue and the elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
always
on
been
Palmetto, that, where those ditches are.
I thought it was DOT.
But
I
they
mean,
only do
It's all DOT.
twice
We
a
just
year,
do it
right?
because
Well,
we don't, they don't, I know the last time I talked to one, and they said the state does it 6 times a year.
according to what we found out, Yvonne checked on that, and correct me if I'm wrong. The DOT contract that Mr. Suber has is monthly, except during the winter months. And what I was gonna try to find out from him, well, what are the winter months? I mean, they may be different to me, they may be different to you. You know, what month is it that they don't do it? But obviously, in the winter months, the grass isn't gonna grow near as bad. Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a couple other numbers for him that I can give you.
Okay, when I leave, I'd be happy to get them. Because I've left, messages on the number that we had.
That was his cell, but he has the
Yeah.
office number and he has
But
another
I've
number.
left messages on that 3 times, and I've never talked to him or received a call back.
If they're responsible for the maintenance on that road, then they need to pick the trash up out of that ditch.
If that's part of his area, I know that the trimming on the concrete curbs is his area. And I think the other is too. I believe that he sprayed herbicides between, let's say, PFR and, Hagstrom Road. I don't know, a year or 2 ago, because I asked Chris, I said, what y'all spray around those oak trees that's killing them oak trees? He said, we didn't spray anything, it was the state. Well, he didn't really know who, but he just knew it was a state contractor or whatever.
They've changed contractors, it seems like 20 times a year.
And,
So it might be why you're not getting a message back from the contractor you had. He may not be their contractor no more.
He is, I talked to him
Oh.
yesterday.
Yvonne has spoken to him,
Okay.
yeah. But we need to find out from him exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And if we're not happy with it, I think we need to talk to him about it or maybe talk to DOT about it. Because it's been quite a long time since they've done anything on Highway 17 through the middle of town. And having that in mind, you guys have always mowed the streets there, correct? Just mowing?
Well, like I said, back when I first started, it was when we had time, and that's when Herbert had us do it. We were supposed to take care of all of our regular work first that involved the town, and then, like I said, we had time.
But I've seen you guys mowing there.
Oh, yeah.
Recently, in the last,
Recently, it's got Sammy. When Sammy took over Herbert, that's when it changed.
Well, I personally think at the very least, we need to keep those roads mowed through town. If they're not doing it on a regular basis and it starts growing up, I would think that Public Works
Well, lots
will
of
take
times,
the action to mow.
we've been doing it so much, most of the time, when they come through, they see it's already mowed, and they just keep on going. They don't stop, they don't do nothing, that's why none of the hedging been getting done, or weeding that's supposed to be doing gets done.
Well, mowing and the edging are two different things, but, I mean,
I guess the end result, we gotta find out when DOT's doing it, and then we can go from there. I mean,
You need to find out what they're.
it needs to be done,
Right.
I'm not
Yes.
disagreeing, it needs to be kept up and looks right, but
Mhm.
if they're not gonna do it enough, maybe,
if they're not doing it
Every other
regular
month
enough,
or
then we
whatever.
can mow in between them or something like that.
Right.
I mean, that's all I'm saying. I don't wanna see it growing up and looking like it is today. And I know that we've been mowing those wide portions of, Center Street up around where Pierson Supply is up towards Hastings Road for a long time. I mean, I've seen Jimmy mowing them, I've seen you guys mowing them, and, we just got authorization from, I don't know if everybody knows, from Heidi Huff to take those flags up. I think I mentioned that last night. But if you guys have an opportunity and knows that road up there does need mowing, if you can pull those flags up, and that way you don't have to worry about hitting them with a mower and swinging them into your tire and the tires going flat and stuff like that. Okay.
What authority does Heidi have in regards to those? Those flags are in regards to the bike path,
Those
right?
regards that was a survey done for DOT, FDOT,
she looks.
and she's
She
one
works
of
for
their main.
FDOT?
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
okay.
with
I didn't know what
Yeah,
Heidi
no,
did.
I'm sorry. No, she's
Okay.
with FDOT.
I got you.
She's the one kind of keeping up with that surveying and things like that. In fact, she even told me she thought the surveyors were supposed to have come back and taken them out.
I got you.
But
Yeah.
nonetheless, they don't need to just remain there. They can be taken down. And did she send you an email to that effect, Ryan?
No.
She
said she was going to.
She said she was going to, but anyhow.
Yeah, I thought maybe she worked for the county and she.
No, she works for FDOT.
Lewis works for the county,
She works for the state.
Yeah, she was the person that we were corresponding with regarding the coal blowout down there at Albert's.
I got you.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Also on page 4, taking good care of town property. Well, we've had an issue before with equipment not being serviced, maintained, etc. 2 of the employees that I spoke to about it were less than professional with their responses to me. And are we keeping
We do all.
service records? Are we?
We got that board up there for our oil changes, and we do our blades on it. At least once a week, they're getting greased. Dustin's been greasing his tractor. I mean,
Marcy, doesn't she keep a list of your maintenance just on the trucks or on?
There's a book in the office
that was for oil changes.
that's in there for them writing stuff.
Is it current? I mean,
There might be 1 or 2 things that was done on vehicles that they can't write down, but I don't know what they are. If I think about it, I write it down.
But that's for the records on the truck, right?
It's kind of hard for me to keep track of this, I'll be honest with you, because I don't know sometimes when they might
We got
change some spark plugs or whatever, little things that I don't know.
I just knew that you were keeping the spreadsheet, I just wanted to make sure what was on it.
Yeah, there's a book in the office, but I think it'd be easier for the boys to.
We got a dry erase
to write it
report
down.
that hangs up, and it got 3 different dates on it and times. Like it'll have, like we do an oil change now, we get dated, miles get written down on it. And then in the next slot, we write down what the miles is, because it states on there, we got how many hours it has to go for oil change. And then if you go to the board, you see it every day. You got the mower, whatever you're using there every day, if it's at that hours, then it gets an oil change. Like every 2 oil changes, I do air filter changes on it.
And you said the board's at the barn?
Mhm.
And that's.
It's a dry
so
erase.
how about take a picture of it once a week or whatever and send it to Marcy and then she can put it in a file?
I could do that once a week, but most of the time it's not gonna have a change in the picture because
Maybe
it
take
takes
the
a
book
while
that
to
she
get
created,
100
take it to the
miles on a
barn.
motor or something
Yeah.
like
Right.
that. I'd say we take it every time we do our oil change on it, just take it, and then you can take a picture of that shows the hours on the machine. You can take it, show the hours on the board, it's been done, I mean, you can do that.
I just think maybe just take the book to the barn
What would, yeah,
and
my,
put the binder at the barn, and when you do it, just write it in there. So
that's my,
you
that's
guys
what I'm
know
gonna say, what's wrong with
what's
keeping,
going on there.
yeah, what's wrong with keeping a record book
On site.
on each piece of equipment, actually, I mean, you've got, Kubota 1 or 2, or whatever they are.
I think they're doing it, there just needs to be a set routine of how they're keeping track of the records. I think that's the breakdown.
And you are all making sure and checking fluids and, okay.
One thing that I do want to ask about, which I don't know 100%, but about the tractor, it being new under warranty, are we allowed to change the oil on that, or is that something they gotta do?
I don't know.
Because sometimes if you're doing stuff, they'll avoid the warranty unless you're like an actual mechanic shop.
I think as long as you have a documented letter of changing that oil,
But did we get a service contract with them? I mean, we
we
didn't.
have an extended warranty contract with them, I don't think we have a service contract. But I think that, as long as you have that's why I think a record book for the tractor, for instance, you'd have a date on there, this date, this many hours, oil was changed with whatever kind of oil it was, new oil filter, new air filter, whatever. I mean, that way you can show anybody on the account or anybody else, this is what's been done on the tractor.
Or anything
Or any
in
other
regards
piece of
to the warranty.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we have changed the oil regularly and that kind of stuff. But there's never been when you buy a new automobile or a new tractor, I don't think there's any requirement that you take it back to the dealer to have it serviced. It's just, you need to service.
How many hours do we have on the new tractor now, Dustin?
61 hours.
When,
I don't know when their recommended oil change setting is, but we always figure whether anybody else on that's every 100 hours.
that's what I was gonna say. I know on our diesel motors, turbines and stuff, it's like every 100 hours.
Same way with the Kubota,
Uh-huh.
I think that's the way, even my Skag Zero turn, it's not a diesel, but I think it's like they recommend every 100 hours. I think after the first initial oil change. But
Bobby, there's the maintenance log, you know, all that.
No.
Keep, and I'm just gonna suggest the boys take that to the barn and keep up with it over there. I mean,
they can write it right in the book when they do it, correct?
that's what I'm thinking. I mean, that's kind of what it looks like anyways, and then that won't be
If I'm
for
not-
Marcy to keep track, because like she said, she's not there. She doesn't know what their ins and outs are every day.
It would probably be easier if this book was over there at the barn.
Mhm.
And
I'm not saying they can still use their whiteboard, because that's what
Right,
they
yeah,
see every day,
yeah.
but once they
Yeah.
do the oil change
Once
or
you do it,
whatever.
I mean, and if it's gonna be entered in that book, you need to write it as neatly and legibly as you can. I mean,
And then the book can come here however often you get put in the, I don't know.
if we need to enter it into the town computer system in some fashion, then we can always bring it in and do it. While the vice mayor is looking at that, and we're on the topic of keeping the equipment up, taking care of stuff, I wanna bring up something I noticed on one of the boat mowers. And I don't think it was any of these three fellows that were responsible for that damage. But the front of that one Kubota lawnmower looks like you tried to push light poles out of the ground with it. It's bent all up. And the mower deck is bent down about this much, would you say,
I
Lou?
actually straightened it up a little bit.
Okay, you
But
did.
the thing is, it's so, say rusty, Cause I've already had Travis weld holes on it, Pat.
So that's a mower deck that we need to replace, is the mower deck, it's a 6-foot deck,
Yeah,
right,
it's a 6-foot
that we need to replace on that mower. I mean, it's had a lot of damage, I mean, just wear and tear on it, where the dirt knocks holes in it and rust and everything. I mean, the sand around there will eventually wear a hole in those mower decks as much as the guys know. But bearing all that in mind, the front of the lawnmower doesn't wear out because somebody's run into a tree or a telephone pole with it. And it's definitely bent. So that's one thing that I believe that, and I don't think any of these guys were the cause of that. At least that's what I was led to believe. And
You talking about the bush hog?
no, I'm talking about zero turn.
The oldest
The oldest Kubota zero turn.
I think it's got a 6-foot deck on it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
I didn't think it was that wide.
And the other one is 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
The 6-foot's the one you guys primarily used to use when you mowed down the highway, right? Because it covered good with one pass.
Just between the curb and the sidewalk.
Yeah, one pass.
In most spots.
Yeah.
So we just need to get quotes and bring it to the.
We need to get a quote. I think we need to get a quote on a new deck. And I think Lewis has already checked on that. It was around $200 area.
Do what?
The deck, just the bare deck, how much was it?
The cheapest one I found was from Fudge's. It was even cheaper than I got it. I talked to at the one in Deland. That Crystal Tractor was telling me like 3,700.
Is that for a complete deck or a bare deck?
So he didn't give me that. He hung up before I even had a chance
Okay.
to ask him. But I know this one out here at from Fudge's, which made no sense to me. That's why I was wondering if maybe if it was because it's such a price difference. It was like 2,000 something for it from Fudge's.
Well, let me ask the council this and get some input from our public works guys. That mower deck, the motor and all that, all the rest of the functions of that zero turn are working perfectly fine, correct? Don't you think if we had to replace the deck on that mower that we would need to get a complete deck with all new spindles and everything else? Instead of putting the old spindles back on the outlet?
I would still keep the old spindles at least.
Huh?
For backup, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, but I'm saying,
I would still keep.
there's nothing, I don't think see anything wrong with that, but I think if we're gonna spend all that money on a deck, we wanna start off with a new motor deck. Instead of spending all that work and time and putting all the old spindles back on it, and then 2 months later, the spindle go out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah, most definitely.
So,
a complete
A
deck.
can
complete deck.
you, get with the Kubota people and get with Yvonne or Ryan and, get us a couple quotes on a complete mower deck for that zero turn?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to talk about that topic? Okay.
Marcy. Please, please.
The next item I highlighted was finding ways to perform responsibilities more efficiently. This is not being done. If it were, we wouldn't have to be griping about ditches not being sprayed or things not being mowed, or they know what needs to be done. Why isn't it being done?
Because we got 3 people doing the job. And
Wait a minute. Stop. For years, we had 2 people
Yeah.
and things were kept up.
They didn't have nowhere near the work we got now. We have been steadily getting more work after work after work after work. Back then, they didn't have to do as much. They didn't have to do the highway back then. They didn't do the county road back then. I mean, when I started, we didn't even do that much.
Well, I just think time could be used a little more efficiently.
Another person would help too.
I'm sure it would, but we can't do that right now. But I think using time more efficiently would be a good start. When I go to the barn and you and Dustin are sitting in your truck at 10 after 3,
What did you tell us to do at one of these other, meetings we had? Wait until the end of the day to do your time sheets. If I got time sheets I'm doing then, I got receipts I'm filling out then. I mean, you told us to wait until then to do our time sheets and stuff. And that's what I was doing, especially that if you're talking about the last time we drove by and you kept on going, me and Dustin were in it. He was in his truck, I was in my truck. I'm doing my time sheets, I'm doing my receipts, just like you said to do. At the end of the day, at one of the last employee workshops. I mean,
How long does it take you at the end of the day to fill out your time sheet?
I do my time sheets and my receipts. If I don't have no receipts, probably not even.
What do you do with your receipts that you're talking about? You have to fill them out. I don't
We
understand.
gotta fill out basically a little description on like whatever we bought, what we used it for.
It's like an expense report,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
that they know how to book it on the inside.
And you do that daily, right?
We did.
Okay.
Sometimes not exactly at 3, sometimes it's at 3:30, it depends. Like if I've already got done mowing and I went and changed my blades and stuff like that already, then I jump on.
I'm gonna go back to, I've said it at all these meetings, maybe we need to go to a schedule so we know if they're doing what's on the schedule, because I'm not disagreeing with them. There's not enough hours in the day to get this up to where it's been neglected for years on end. But there's got to be a rhyme or reason to get it all done. And if we have a schedule and they know this is what you do this week, I mean, I know it's fixing to be mowing time. They're gonna be mowing all the time. I understand that.
yes.
But I
And
mean,
that's- yeah.
how it's been run to how we want it run now, I mean,
It's
some
different.
things are gonna have to be done a little different.
One of
Is it our fault? Is it their fault? I think we just gotta come to a happy medium of where we need
I
to
think it's just evolving what's evolving to. I don't think
Yes.
it's anybody's fault.
be. Yeah.
I
I mean, and that way we can see, do we need another or fourth person on the public works outside? Do we need a part-time person? And then you gotta figure out where we're gonna get the money to pay them.
I've talked to the county on this a little bit, on how they manage their public work people.
But the county has way more revenue than we do.
I'm not saying they don't, I'm just talking about how they document their time. Whether they have one employee or 5 of them. When they document their time, anytime you wanna call the supervisor at Public Works, he can tell you how many hours they've spent on edging and how many feet of edging they did, how many miles of mowing they did, or how many acres they mowed and that kind of stuff. And I think that's one thing that may help them and help us. I mean, how many acres do they mow?
I mean, we're talking about a little tiny bit of area versus Volusia County. And we don't have the technology. I mean, who's gonna keep track of those reports?
Yeah, we're getting way ahead of ourselves too.
Well,
We're
maybe
just
we
a
are.
small, we're just a small municipality. And I don't think, there may be a little lackadaisical at times. It's gonna happen anywhere, you know? I myself do the same thing. We all do, I'm sure. But you can't go comparing us to the county, because the county, I promise you, has way more employees than they need.
I wasn't comparing us to the county.
Just how they
I
document.
know it,
I was
but
just saying-
if they go to documenting all of this every time they do something, then that's taking time from what they could be doing.
Well, when
The way I look at it.
when he fills out his daily time sheet, we could know a little more, I think maybe a little bit more detail on his time sheet, that's all I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, because he's filling out a daily time sheet anyhow. And that's basically how the county does it. They fill out a daily time sheet. They all fill out a daily time sheet. And
I mean, they're not that detailed. It doesn't take
I mean,
I already filled out my time sheet, like today, it says what I did this morning. I mowed 2 baseball fields, and I mowed the inner streets and down Washington and Pine. I mean, that's.
Okay.
But how long does it take to write that? 30 seconds?
It don't take long, right?
Right.
So maybe just be more detailed in your descriptions of what you do. Write down everything you do every day. And with that way it can be calculated and kept up with in the office. Like, I mean, is that what you're saying?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
Document.
basically, well, how long does it take to mow Chipper Jones Park? I mean, how many hours do you think that takes?
Well, like we said
2
last
days?
night, I had talked to them about the zero turn mowing versus the
Bush
tractor
hog.
bush hog mower. And they agreed. Sammy wanted them to keep that mowed with a zero turn because it keeps it cut down. I can see that during special events, when we have 4th of July, when the Easter egg hunt, things like that, run over the whole thing so it's nice and pretty. But everyday, weekly mowing,
I think,
I think it'll cut down. Maybe, sorry, Dustin, may have to put a little bit more mowing on your plate, or somebody else will have to
I
drive the
think it
mower.
would cut down on the time needed. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you last night.
Yeah.
That, we need to mow it the most efficient way that we can. And like you said, if we're having a special event, maybe just part of that event, we do want to knock it down with zero.
If they're using a 6-foot deck though, on the zero
Right.
turn, that's as wide as the tractor mower is.
It's the same.
And I believe that zero turn goes faster than the tractor. I mean, and does a better job going faster
That's
than
kind
the
of,
tractor
Right.
would going faster, is what I'm saying.
I do know that I've just got a little small compact tractor and it's got a 4-foot bush hog on it.
Uh-huh.
I've got a 48-inch deck on my Skag, and I promise you, I can mow that field beside my house at 3 acres a heck of a lot quicker with that Skag than I can with that tractor.
Mhm.
So, but I think we need to do it the most efficient way possible.
That's
And
true.
if the tractor's the best way, if it's rough mowing and that kind of stuff, well, obviously I think we need to use the tractor, especially
These
on the
parts
air.
and pieces of it, I mean, way out there
Yeah.
by that road and by
Right,
the new
yeah.
wells and all that stuff, I mean, maybe that's where I see a tractor would be more efficient than this zero turn, but I could be wrong too, I mean.
Well, I think you're right when it comes to some of that.
Okay, so on page 5, section 5A, the town council approves and adopts personnel policies and procedures, the compensation plan, and the position classification system. Okay. B, committee chairman. Committee chairmen are responsible for the effective administration of the town's personnel rules and regulations within their respective departments. So that means, I guess, that the Public Works chairman is responsible for the Public Works department, right?
That's the way I look at it.
What's the committee?
Pardon?
Who's the committee?
Yeah.
Well, as committee chairmen, and we have several committees.
Committees,
We
yes.
have
Not a committee that would
Bobby's in
fall
charge of
under-
the water department. I'm the chairman for the airport. Jimmy Anderson is the chairman for public works, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Who's on the committee or chairman?
There's 3 council members.
3 council members on each committee.
On each
Yes.
committee.
Yeah. You have a chairman and then an under chairman and another under chairman, basically. So if the chairman's not around, if Bobby's not around and I'm on the water department, the guys can call me if they have a question about something or something needs doing. And if I'm not here, whoever the 3rd chairman is or the 3rd committee member is can be contacted. That's why I set up that way.
And that's been like that for a long time.
It's been like that for
A long time.
and it's
But
worked.
y'all don't ever meet as a committee.
No.
No.
I've asked that question, why is it called a committee if we don't
Yeah.
really,
Yeah, we don't, I think it's just
And y'all don't
Just-
talk to each other.
mm-mm.
Is that the assumption about it?
No, we
Right.
don't. Mm-mm. if we were gonna have a committee meeting, it would be the 3 committee members, and it would be a public meeting like we're having it right now. I mean, basically, the only people that the committee chairman directly communicates with would be Public Works to answer a question regarding the water department.
So these policies typically are adopted by resolution. So, in priority, your charter is the most important. Then you go to your ordinances, and then you go to these policies. The charter says you have general supervision of the entire city.
Right.
The ordinance says there is a utility director of public works, I think, which could be a commissioner, but doesn't have to be. But it sounds like what y'all have done is, and maybe it's an ordinance change we could do, that you have something akin to a commission form of government without actually saying that, because each commissioner is in charge of a department. And so, but it seems like that's what you've done I haven't actually seen what you've said in writing anywhere, but maybe it's somewhere. But I haven't gone through the whole code or anything like that, but maybe that's what we can have an ordinance to say, the departments, break the departments up, and each commissioner is in charge of that department. And then if you want to have backup departments.
You got that, Randy, that thing with the committee members, she can show.
Do you have it or I have it now?
I have it right
Thought she had a copy. Okay.
So that's just a statement of
She
who the
was
committee
getting-
members are.
This is basically how we have it set up.
Okay.
And after every election, we sit down and we nominate somebody to be the chairman, and the board agrees to that or they don't, and then we have the vice chairman, and then we have the third member.
Is there an ordinance that outlines this? That's what I'm just asking.
I don't know. I don't know. I just know that's the way we've done it in Pierson for
100 years.
ever.
Yeah. 99.
It's almost
It's coming
like,
up on-
Yeah, 99 years.
Yeah.
And this has worked for us for 99 years.
But we don't actually we nominate chairman, but we don't really do anything.
Right, you're right, yeah.
I mean, they
You're
don't,
right.
and since I've been on council, you read this and it says that, and then I'm like, okay, well, we don't have that, or we don't do that. I don't think all of the
I don't think it all
handbooks
gets
and
updated.
it don't get updated so that it matches, so that's probably a problem.
Well, I'm just, you have kind of a little bit of a built-in conflict with how you operate with the charter, because the charter, the mayor generally supervises everything. But then you take another commissioner and say, well, now you're the department head for that department. Well, the commissioner cannot communicate with the mayor over for general supervision purposes. That's a sunshine law.
Exactly.
So that kind of starts tying the hands a little bit.
That's one of the problems that we have as a small town. If you're a larger city, they have a public works director, and any council member can communicate with that public works director anytime they want to. And they have a city manager, and they have somebody in charge of their streets and roads and so on and so forth.
They do.
And we can't do that. We can't.
I wonder, did all of the things when we went to voting mayor, did all of these things come into play? Because I don't think they got updated.
That's where
When
the
we
issue-
went to,
that's where
the
issue
mayor
is.
has like you said, the mayor has supervision over everybody. I think that was when we had a non-voting mayor.
So Scott, what you don't know probably is that in like
Apparently.
2020,
Yeah.
2020 or 2021, we had a special election here where they made the council chairman synonymous with the mayor. In other words, the mayor is the council chairman. Back before that, it was 5 council people, including a chairman, and then the mayor was a non-voting mayor.
Right.
Oh.
And so the mayor oversaw a lot of stuff, but he was not elected. He was just appointed as mayor.
That's actually.
Well, he was elected.
He was elected.
Well, but
Yeah.
he was elected, but he wasn't a voting council.
He was not
Right.
a voting member.
That actually makes a huge difference in relation to the sunshine.
Right. And it
Then the
also,
mayor, the mayor could talk to each
Correct.
person without violating sunshine.
Exactly.
Right.
You give the mayor voting rights, now y'all can't communicate.
But this employee handbook is probably 25, 30 years old. I think the last time they updated it was in the early 2000s. So this handbook assumes that you have a mayor who oversees everything
Correct.
and a separate council.
We
don't have
And
that.
it's not, and it's not that way.
Which is why we need to
anymore.
update the handbook.
But the charter still says you have general supervision.
Correct.
But it says now that I guess you have voting power in the charter,
Yes.
but that was a charter amendment that y'all did?
Yes.
Okay.
It was
They
done
did it.
through some type of special.
They did a special election and
Yeah.
a charter amendment to make the
Okay.
mayor synonymous with the
Over the-
council chairman.
They reduced the total number of people from 6 to 5.
Okay.
And they also took almost everything out of our charter and put it into the code of ordinances instead to shorten up our charter, because used to the charter was, 90 pages long, so they moved everything out to try to simplify it.
But when when we did, what's the book we did, that big old book we went over for a year and a half, 2 years?
The comp plan.
Yeah,
That's
doesn't
different.
would that update some of that, or that's
No,
totally
that's just-
something different?
Comp
That's just
plan
your
only
land use.
deals with development.
It's your land development.
It's land development only.
Too many plans.
There are. Okay, so really, it seems like we're still struggling to implement the change in the charter in 2020.
Yes,
Sounds like it's a little.
part of it.
We are, but what we're struggling with today is to make sure everybody's clicking on the same
True.
page with our public works.
Okay.
And I mean,
Well, it's all employees.
with all of our employees, and regardless of that, I think we do need to follow through with what you were talking about as far as getting everything up to date.
I think just a suggestion would be to adopt an ordinance that kind of outlines everything y'all just discussed. Unless it's there, I just haven't seen it. If you don't have it in writing, more so than a policy that's adopted by resolution, something that's an ordinance that gets, codified, put in your code book, so the public can see it, and anybody look at your code book can see it when they go on Unicode. I think that would be helpful, just to say, this is the role each commissioner has, or at each election, after each election, if there's a change, at your organizational meeting, which usually occurs right after the election, you will then say, these are the people who are in charge of what, this commissioner's in charge of this department,
And pretty much it doesn't ever change unless there's a new council member. Am I correct about that, Vice Mayor? I mean,
More or
it's
less,
kind of
yes, yeah, more or less.
All right, continue.
that helped a lot, and now I learned about it. Thank you.
Okay.
On page 9, the employees are supposed to, in writing, report any loss, damage, or unserviceable condition of any of the town property. That's not being done. When we had the issue on Shaw Lake Road and I asked about a sump pump to get the water out of the hole, they said, oh, they don't work.
They were brought, the problem is the ones who's fixing that down there at co-op. He's not worth it. He can't fix crap. He's not worth a damn.
Then we need to quit going there.
We have. That's why that thing just sitting over there, because where else am I gonna run it?
Well, one of the worst things on any gasoline engine is just sitting there not being used.
Correct.
We don't, how often do you
We
really?
don't use it much.
I mean,
We go and we turn the gas valve off and let all the gas burn out of the carburetor.
but you still got bad gas in the tank.
But we still got bad gas in the tank, so unless you just sit there, you could let it burn all the gas out.
Which is what we need to do, so the carburetor doesn't get gummed up, and that's what I do with my generator, is let it run out of fuel, and then it's good to go next time. But just little things like that, no communication with issues with equipment, until it's needed, and then it's a big surprise that it doesn't work.
I think on things like that sump pump, one thing I would recommend that we do is if we use it today and we don't burn all the gas out of the tank, drain the tank and run the thing dry. That's about the best you can do, I think, as far as making sure it's going to crank next time you use it. That's still not a guarantee that it will. and we don't use the sump pump but
No,
once in.
but
once
when
a
you
year.
need the damn thing, you need it.
Yeah. Are we not using non-ethanol fuel in, Lewis, for those things?
Yeah, we use whatever they got at the gas station.
At the Handway? Yeah, that's. Switching to non-ethanol fuels will.
It'll help.
It'll help.
And then and even with that, you need to put a good quality fuel stabilizer in it.
Section 5 was missing.
I wanted to ask a question about that. What's up with that?
I don't know.
What was section 5?
It was limitations of employment of relatives. And it's
What page is that on?
12.
Yeah. Was there ever anything in section 5?
I don't know.
I mean, why is it even in there if there's nothing?
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
mean, there's aren't there state rules and regulations pertaining to this also?
Yeah, there are.
A lot of this starting,
Like Jimmy is Marcy's dad and Chris's father-in-law and Lewis's ex-father-in-law. And he's Public Works. That's okay, though, right? Or no?
the state law, there's a statute which deals with restriction on employment of relatives. And it would apply to the cities. And it says a public official may not appoint, employ, promote, or advance or advocate for appointment, employment, promotion, or advancement in or to a position in the agency, which includes the city, in which the official is serving or over which the official exercises jurisdiction or control any individual who is a relative of the public official. But the restriction is appoint, employ, promote, advance, and advocate for those things.
It doesn't have anything to do with supervision.
Yeah, when you read it, it doesn't specifically talk about supervision. So, if an issue came up for sure with, any of Jimmy's relatives, I think one you said was an ex-son-in-law?
His daughter Marcy works in the utilities.
Right.
His son-in-law Chris, and then Lewis is an ex-son-in-law.
I don't know if an ex-son-in-law counts as a relative.
No.
Probably not. But in-laws do, but I'm not sure if exes do, but two of them would. But so if an issue came up about promoting employment,
Their raises,
Raises,
bonuses, that kind of stuff.
anything, he would have a voting conflict, even without this provision. There's a voting conflict of interest provision in state law that says you can't vote on anything that inures is a special pecuniary gain, basically money or value, to you, your family member, a business associate, someone that you work as an agent for. That's a voting conflict of interest. You have to abstain. So that would apply even without this provision with the situations you're talking about. I don't see anything just looking at this statute without going further and reading some of the cases that deals with supervision of those individuals. As long as he didn't employ them, he didn't advocate for their employment,
Right.
or anything like that. Supervision does not seem to be addressed, but I haven't really thoroughly looked through it. But
That was my understanding. That's why I wasn't too worried about Jimmy being the public works director or even being on the council, or being on the board.
Right.
As long as he doesn't act on promoting
Right.
Or hiring.
or hiring.
Right.
advocating for it.
Advocating for, right.
Yeah.
I thought that we talked about that
We did.
a few meetings.
But I personally didn't always trust Christian's opinion.
Yeah, but we did talk about that with Christian, and I think the thing about nepotism came into play, and I think that's maybe what this is referring to.
That is, and
I mean, I
couldn't-
might be wrong about
Yeah.
that.
I didn't find anything, in our policies, and I just saw our policies. I
Right.
sat down here.
But I'm talking about in
In
statute.
statute, I didn't see anything yet that says nepotism. Like you can't be under the supervision of a family member. This is the closest thing to nepotism. That's
But
hiring.
hiring,
That's
pay raise.
actually two different things.
Right.
It's actually two different things.
Yeah,
That's the way I interpreted it the whole
That's-
time.
That's the way I interpreted it as well.
And some of this, like the.
After all those meetings that I go sit in 4 hours every year, I did learn a little bit.
Yeah.
You retained it.
And retained it.
That's good.
He didn't sleep this time.
I know there were some
I
things
was
in
eating my
here
Chick-fil-A.
to pretty much mirror state law, some of these policies.
So probably, Scott, would you recommend our handbook probably just needs to be updated with different wording?
I think it just needs to be updated.
We can go through that.
I mean, I don't, it's,
I actually think I need to get the current charter, because I don't think this charter on the city's website is the current charter.
No, that's the most current thing we have.
It is?
Yes.
Because it says you have a mayor and 5 commissioners.
Right, I don't know if they ever updated it after the election.
if we don't, we just have
Okay.
5 commissioners, one of them happens to be a mayor, one of them
Yeah.
happens to be a vice mayor, and the other 3 have to be regular commissioners. And the vice mayor is nominated by the other 4 members of the council.
Right.
I mean, he
But
doesn't,
he's saying that when we did that in 2020, it never updated our charter to state that.
That should have been part of that whole
Usually you
special
update it.
election, is they would have voted on
Change
a
the
charter.
so that's one of the problems, is the charter needs to be updated.
Well, somewhere in the bowels of the computer in there could be a proposed one that the council never.
Well, usually when you do a charter change, there will be an ordinance that gets adopted.
Right.
And there's a question that's proposed to the voters.
Right.
And a ballot title, ballot summary, and then there will be what that change was, and then attached to that typically is what the ordinance will look like.
Right.
With the changes.
Right.
That's what we need to find. And you'll have the red line strike through and say, this is what we're going to change if you
Right.
approve this. If it got approved, we just need to probably, I don't know if it's by resolution or ordinance, but we need to adopt a charter consistent with the 2020 voter approved changes. Just so we have that updated charter. Because when I pulled up the charter, it says it's last updated in 1929.
Yeah.
And that was, and it looked the same, because when on your website it says, here's a charter, and you scroll down, it says updated charter. Well, it's exactly the same as the charter that's there that's not updated. They looked identical to me.
What year did you say that it got updated, Ryan?
During COVID to 2020 or
recent.
2021. It was an off year, it was like a special election.
So that would
So there
have
was a
changed, that would have
presidential-
been the.
I thought we did that too.
It would have been 2021 because 2020 was the presidential election. So they did it the next year as a special election.
There's no evidence of a charter change on our website, though. I've looked at it like Scott, if you go there and look, they're both the same.
That's what I think.
They're identical.
Yeah.
Wade was here.
So when y'all started talking about what we
He
used to
was
have
still,
by.
he was still the lawyer when, I'm sorry, Scott.
Yeah, we're just thinking out loud.
He was still the lawyer when Sammy came in as mayor and he changed that? I don't remember that.
Yes. Yes.
Didn't Wade Bose take over when Noah McKinnon?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I
We had
think,
2015.
yeah, Wade Bose would have been the attorney when that.
Wade probably prepared because they would have had to have done that a year before to get it ready for, because they had to
On
get
the election.
signatures and all that stuff for a special election. So Wade probably did it, but Christian was probably the new attorney by the time it passed. So I'm wondering if there was just one didn't pick up where the other one
Left
on
off.
that.
Possible.
Yeah.
That's not to say that if we went back in minutes that it all did, that there was an ordinance and all that, but maybe Carmen just never updated it after the election.
That's possible.
We have a
too.
lot of
That's
problems.
highly
That's
possible.
very
The follow
possible.
through on stuff just never happened.
That's very possible.
If you can just get me the ordinance,
Yeah, we'll look for it.
that's, whatever was submitted to the voters and that's what approved,
Right.
that's what your charter says.
Right.
So we just need to make sure.
Somewhere she would have compiled all that because it would have had to have gone to the elections
So I'll get the supervisor.
office. Yeah, so it's in there. We just have to find it.
A lot of things could be missing in those years.
Well, so a good example of that is when Mark and Christian we were going over our ordinances. Mark sent me a whole list and said, here's ordinances that we passed for like the LDR that are nowhere in here. She never put them in here from 2015, 2016. So then I had to go back and dig for them and find them so that we could incorporate them into Unicode when we did the Unicode thing. But there was probably 6 or 7 ordinances for Mark and who knows how many for Christian that the council passed them and they just never got put in. So it's like you did half of it, but you didn't incorporate it into the, codes.
Scott Carmen is
I was our former clerk.
she was our former clerk.
She left in 2023.
Okay.
And left us with a mess, to say the least.
Okay. Well, we just gotta get the charter updated, get the correct one, so everybody knows what it is. And then as we go through, if there are ordinances that haven't been sent to Unicode, find them and we send them to them.
Yeah.
And then, that will, the ordinance, once it's adopted, that is the law. Unicode is just allows people to find it.
Right.
Which helps enforce the law.
But it also helps us find it.
Helps you
A lot of
find it.
times the town passes stuff and then we go, did we pass something for this?
Well, like everything I'm looking at, when I started working, I looked at our code book on Unicode.
Mhm.
And it's not, the charter's not on Unicode. So I
No.
went to the city's website.
Right.
And under governance, it said charter. I clicked on charter. I looked at that. I was like, wow, that's antiquated. Then I scrolled down, here's an updated one. I said, oh, that doesn't look any different. And it is. And you have an antiquated charter. I mean, and I don't know how much you changed in your charter in 2020, but.
I think that's all they changed was the structure where they took out the part about,
So the mayor is still
Non-voting
the
mayor,
town
the
judge?
voting mayor, and one less.
Yeah, I guess I am.
You're still the town judge?
Yeah, and I'm gonna lock them up in jail. Sit in jail.
I'm not even 100% sure that's legal.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that in there that does
Yeah.
need to be stricken and removed and
We did,
revised.
You take out
What
the,
was it?
we did.
Well, something didn't get updated, but that's what they're
We
saying.
just have to find it. We've got to
Yeah.
find.
Yeah, we
when it
did.
passed.
you
Yeah.
took out the town judge thing?
Because I was on planning and zoning and we acted
Right.
as a code of,
Code
board
enforcement?
of, yes. So I remember specifically, one of the issues that, I can't remember the dude's name before Mark. But anyhow, the planner. One of the things was, if a property joins, if a property in the county joins Pierson proper,
Mhm.
we have the right to do something if there was an issue with that property that joined Pierson proper land.
There's a butt in it.
Yes. Well, that was from 19, and I said, wait, they wanted to strike it. And I said, no, we don't want to strike that verbiage. We want to keep that because God knows something could arise, that there is a house of ill repute in, you know what I'm saying? Let's keep that verbiage. And I remember them laughing about that. So I worked on that.
And
But when
planning
the
and
hell was
zoning,
it? I
but
don't
did it
know.
go to
The
council?
fellow before Mark
Was-
was the guy that went to work for the county. What was his name?
I can't remember what I ate today, Bobby.
Bob Keith,
Bob Keith.
Oh,
Bob Keith was the one before Mark.
I think Bob works for the NPO.
He might now,
Yeah.
but yeah, he,
He was a consulting planner with the NPO. He did Holly Hill.
yep,
but at one time he was our.
he was our
town
planner. Bob Keith was our planner, yeah. Yeah, the county, actually, he was working for the county at the time, and the county let us
Mhm.
piggyback off of it. Use him as our planner as well, but then he got the land, the county had so much work for him where he had to quit doing our work.
And that's when we
And
went
that's
with
when we
Deb Cohen, right?
With Zeb Cohen. If I remember correctly. But I know when I was first on this board, it was Bob Keith was our planner.
Mhm. I remember him
Mhm.
myself. I wasn't on council then, but I remember.
On page 16, each permanent employee of the town is to be evaluated quarterly. I don't think that's ever been done.
I don't think it's ever been done either, because I had spoken with Yvonne one time about personnel files on our employees, and we didn't have a personnel file. And if you were gonna evaluate an employee, that performance appraisal or evaluation, whatever it is, would become a part of their personnel file. And the whole reason for having a personnel file and doing performance appraisal and evaluations, from my past experience with the state, is so you can just document an employee's progress. They're doing a great job, or they had a little hiccup and you talked to them about it and that's all it was, or they did something real major and you had to do something else, and it was so you could have some type of progressive plan if you had an employee that was continuously doing something they shouldn't do. But mainly it's just, you had a performance rate. I think we did our semi-annual.
I was gonna suggest the wording to say at least annually,
Yeah, I was gonna say
because quarterly is,
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Quarterly is a lot, and anytime you do it the way we're structured now, if you were gonna do a performance appraisal on Lewis or Dustin or anybody, it would have to be, everybody on the council would have to be involved in it. So it would have to be a meeting, and it would, if you did it quarterly,
That's a lot.
in that type of a situation, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're dealing with a personnel issue like an evaluation, does that have to be a public meeting?
let's see real quick, that might,
I mean,
I don't think so.
I don't think so
I think
either.
I remember when this was implemented and it just didn't get done. You know what I mean? Because I can remember this coming up, because I was supposed to evaluate Carmi. And
Okay.
Carmi was our it was head of our water department. And I can sit up here and say that I never did.
okay.
So, and I'm sure other council members had evaluations of the town employees. But I do remember this being in,
I mean, I would think also
In the
that if you
handbook.
have a public works director, the public
An
works director
evaluation.
should do the evaluation on the public works employees.
sure,
I would say that
I mean-
before you as the mayor, looking at the chart.
Well, yeah.
This is the old, I don't know. the correct-
But I mean, the evaluations could come through the council and everybody look at it.
right.
But it says you have general supervision over all affairs, except the actions of the town council, and shall report to town council on all violations or neglect of duty on the part of any employees of the town that come to his or her knowledge. You could kind of tie into that evaluations,
The mayor has that authority?
Under the charter I'm looking at.
The
now,
way the old charter is, right?
The one that's on the website.
Well, yeah, that's the one that was,
I don't know if that came out. If that came out, then.
yeah, I don't know either, because that charter was done in 1929.
Okay.
It's still the same charter that says American.
Yeah, and
Right.
like I said, I really think that was like that,
Yeah, I
because
mean,
he was
Mhm.
not voting,
totally
and
inadequate.
he was kind of over all of us.
I swear I believe Wade Voce was our attorney when we had a charter review and update.
And for some reason, it's just never been documented or whatever. I mean, because if we had a charter update, I mean, I can't find it anywhere in writing myself. I mean, I haven't gone and dug through every file cabinet.
Well, who was our clerk?
Carmen.
Yeah.
Okay, that answers a lot of questions.
Yeah, I mean, but if we do
That's why it's not there.
have one
That's why it's not there.
that is updated, and it is squared away, then it needs to be included on our website.
It's.
If you're gonna have a
Yeah,
charter.
we updated it. If we updated it, we need to just do like you said and post it on Unicode, is that all you would have to do?
Some cities do put their charter on Unicode. The key thing is that the city has, this is our charter.
Right,
Now,
that
whether
we
you
know
put
what
it
it
on your
is.
website, whether you put it on Unicode, or whether you have copies of it in the office where people can get it. That's probably the most important thing. How you disseminate it to the public is up to y'all. Your website is fine. You don't have to have the charter on Municode. If Municode was gonna charge you more to put the charter up there, I don't know if I'd pay for it, but if they do it for free, then I probably would put it there. But you pay annually for Municode.
We
And
just
then-
started that.
Yeah, we just started that last year or year before last?
Last year
Yeah.
with Ryan.
Yeah, that Municode is really, really good.
But the way it stands now, the only charter that any of us are actually aware of that's for real is the old charter, right?
Yeah,
That's the only one I know of.
That's an issue. Yeah, this is gonna take staff doing some discovery, looking to try to find it. And, you know, maybe if you call a supervisor elections, you go back and you look at public records and see when did the city of Pierson have a charter review, or, you know, just Google it and see what pulls up on news, you know, property appraisal, or not property appraisal.
I think it was updated. I'm thinking like Ryan said, it had to have been because they had to have had all of that paperwork in before they could have even put it on a ballot.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah,
Well,
because when they changed the structure of the town government, that would have probably been the time when they updated the charter, right? Or
you
should
would
have.
have to, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it should be out there somewhere.
Who knows? In the bowels of that, who knows? Stuck in a box, or who knows?
We should be able to find that. I would
Yeah.
think somebody somewhere has it. I mean,
I would hope so,
yeah, so that's kind of important.
unless our clerk just completely ran it through a paper shredder
Which,
before anything else ever done.
But the supervisor of elections has to keep, I don't know for how long, but that all went through the supervisor of elections office. That, all that stuff, you know, you send this, you send the orders, you send the ballot question to the supervisor of election, they conduct your elections.
Okay. So the entire ordinance should have been, at one time at least, in the possession of the elections
At
official.
least the ordinance declaring the ballot question, ballot summary, that should be there. The whole ordinance may be attached to that as well.
Okay,
But at some point, that was sent to the supervisor of election.
okay.
something else I think we need to change. On page 21, a full-time employee may be granted, upon approval of the committee chairman, time off without pay not to exceed 5 consecutive working days. Additional time may be granted on request by a committee chairman or notify any council member or the town clerk. This is for bereavement.
What page is this on?
21.
Okay.
Everybody gets some sort of compensated time for bereavement.
Yes.
You know, and I think 5 days, isn't it 5 days with the county, Yvonne? Bereavement? I mean, that's just the kind thing to do.
Sure.
So you're suggesting to do 5 days with pay as opposed to 5
Yes.
days without pay?
Correct. That's horrible.
I agree with that.
Without,
Yeah, that needs to be changed.
A regular full-time employee may join Space Coast Credit Union. That needs to be stricken. I mean,
yeah. They can join Space Coast Credit Union whether they're an employee or not.
right. That's insane.
Yeah, it is insane.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Going back to section 10, do we do this compensatory time, compensatory leave?
Not anymore, we used to.
So we,
They stopped it a long time ago.
so do you get overtime pay now?
Yeah.
Okay, I was questioning that. Okay, so section 10 can go on.
Yeah, I don't know of any time that we've been asked to take all comp time.
They used to give it to us. Like, when we
Right,
did
but I
that.
mean,
And what happened is we filled build up to a certain amount of hours, and then they would either pay us regular pay for everything, but like a certain amount of hours, and start all over again, or you could use it to take like a day off or something like that.
Compensatory time is a way of getting around overtime pay, you gotta be very careful with that.
I think if you're in just a salary position and you get comp time, that's one thing, but if you're an hourly employee, I think you're 100% right. You need to be careful with that.
Very careful.
But what we do now is overtime, right, Ron? So that really can be taken out.
Yes,
In section 11, also needs to be removed.
yes.
And most of the, do you have anything on, section that talks about, safety money? Do you have any comments on that?
I don't think I
On page
do.
22.
Mm-mm.
I know,
Well, I do. I hadn't really, part-time employees of the town are eligible to receive workers' comp benefits as provided by law.
We don't have part-time employees.
Right, but I mean, if we did,
if you do have a part-time employee, Scott, and they get injured on the job, which is when workers' compensation comes in, they would be eligible for workers' comp, wouldn't they, up to some degree?
I do not know the answer to that off the top of my head. I have to research that. I mean, the state law governs and regulates workers' comp, so whatever
Okay.
rights you have under workers' comp.
I'm
is-
gonna say yes, because I was in a workers' comp case not too many years back.
Well,
He
that's
had
kind
just started working for us.
I mean, that's kind of what I think. I mean, if you're
If
a
he's on your
part-time
job and
employee,
he
you
gets
get
hurt,
your arm broken,
Right.
cutting a tree limb, then obviously it needs to be paid for by workers' comp. I mean,
okay.
so I think that needs to stay.
I'm just wondering if the whole thing should just, section 2 there under safety should just say this, the city will follow the workers' compensation requirements of state law.
Of state law.
And
Yeah,
just leave it at
period.
that and write anything
Yes.
else.
Absolutely.
I think they make it as simple as
As
possible.
possible.
Yes.
Whatever the state law says, we follow.
The more stuff you put in here,
Yes,
the more
More
problems we
complicated.
can bring upon ourselves, the more complicated it becomes. So probably what we need to do when we get done talking about this book is sit down and redo the whole thing, right?
probably.
Strike out what needs to be taken out. If we need to add something, add it.
Probably.
But I don't know when this was actually updated last.
Well, I don't know if you wanna call it updated, but I have a really old one.
Mm.
And it says the same thing as the new one.
Oh,
So
it
it wasn't
does.
updated, it was just like, it was just retyped.
It was like,
Yeah.
made it look a little prettier.
Right.
So that's all I had in the handbook.
Did I miss anything while I was gone?
No.
Yeah, we just talked about workers'
Talked
comp and the
about
fact that a part-time employee,
Yes.
if we had one, would be covered in workers' comp if he was in
Right.
on the job.
I got you.
So let's go over a little bit what each one of you guys do.
It's here,
Hmm?
that's this. It's in here. It's kind of.
Of the areas and
public
stuff?
where- I thought you meant like their duties, because that's what these are.
Right,
You're talking about like what areas?
right. So Chris, what do you do? Wait a minute. Town center. Hmm? Water tower. North Road Park, Nixon Park, and you do the bathrooms every morning?
Over at Chipper Jones, right, yeah.
Every morning.
It's a crappy job, ain't it?
I would think so.
Yes.
Lately, yeah.
So Lewis, you do,
I do everything at Chipper Jones Park, weed, all that.
So you take care of the whole grounds on,
The whole Chipper Jones.
okay, the facility.
I have to do the highway I've been doing from Palmetto all the way down to Hagstrom. I've had the airport around the tie down areas. I have to do let's see, the wells. I'll mow all the inner streets over here on this side, on the east side of town. I don't know much stuff to do.
Also, I do know that when things are, well, I say I know this, I think I believe that when things are really jamming up, if Chris is pretty much caught up on his, he can help you catch up on
Well,
yours and
that's-
vice versa.
Yeah.
That's what Jimmy has us doing now.
Cause I mean, I know I've seen Chris mowing over there on Frederick several
Yeah.
times.
When
You know,
Chris gets done with his, then he comes over and he'll help me.
yeah,
Because I'll never get over
I know.
Each one of y'all also has a certain area to do, the meters, right? All three of you do, right?
To do what?
The meters.
Oh, yes.
Meter reading.
Yeah. So all y'all read meters, right? Once a
We replaced the fire hydrants. Everything's pretty much on that together. It's always been done.
so Dustin, you do airport,
I went to Strickland Airport, the old burn pile used to be, the burn pile, County Road 3, all the other roads on that side of town, like Braddock, Palmetto, Fanno, North Road, Western, Harper,
That's west.
Yeah.
down to Blackburn, Exton Road, both sides of it, and then back like down to Third and all that stuff in between.
And you do Shaw Lake Road too, don't y'all?
Huh?
Shaw Lake Road too, you do, right?
Yeah, Minshew, Myrtle, Franklin.
most all that's mowed with the tractor, right?
He does it.
I do all the shut offs and turn ons and all these, and I do the fire. Whatever else we gotta do, we get called on. And if you want to give me a for me, I guess I'll be doing 17 and the majority of Bakersfield.
And like I said, I didn't realize the decks were the same size on the tractor as the zero turn. So if you, whatever you find easier and faster for you guys, I was just suggesting that. When we talked about that.
Stuff that I have to mow, and I use the 6-foot ones a lot. By the time I get to some stuff, it's so thick, I have to either ask Dustin to go mow it.
Yeah.
Which most of the time he does anyways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, and I do the lawn over there by the, clinic.
the what?
The little lawn over there by.
Oh, on the corner of,
Across from the high school.
First Avenue, Frederick there.
Just FYI, can we spray weed killer around that whole thing?
Yes, it
Kill
looks
all of
bad.
that stuff? I just seen y'all mowed it. It looks better. Maybe just throw some weeds and stuff.
The clinic side is also fell down too.
Oh,
You mowed inside of the fence area?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
I hadn't been by there in a couple of days.
No, it looks better. It just needs this stuff off the fence.
Yeah.
If it's growed in there, I mean, maybe just cut it all out.
That's the whole back, do we
Just adding to y'all's problem.
even need that chain link fence there?
I kind of wondered the same thing. I don't know what purpose it serves. I bet
I mean, it's
maybe
just-
it does.
It's just, there's no playground equipment in there, it's just, part of that corner, it just makes, it makes it more difficult to keep up. When I just look at it, I mean, I'm like, why do we even have that?
Didn't, Did the town put that up or no?
It's always been up since I've been.
I think the clinic put it up,
No, that's been up since, because remember, it used to be a county park.
It's a,
right?
And that's where most, I think the county originally put that up.
You're probably,
And then
that's
the
about
town
right.
took over that park and most of its play equipment's over
It's
here.
over here.
Super Jones.
That's
because
right.
there's no play equipment in there at all now, is there?
No.
Just like a little
Fence.
shed or something. There's a-
It's just kind of a weird shaped fence with nothing behind it.
Pipe for a well.
Oh, well, yeah, I knew there was some kind of little building or something.
There's a well in that,
Just the pipe, just a jar.
just a pipe.
What is
It's one of the older style where you can mount the motor.
Well, like a 2-inch well, maybe?
Something like that, 2 inches.
Not like that, yeah. That was probably there years ago
It's
when
been
the
there.
house was there, remember?
Mhm.
Burnt down, but. Would it be a problem if we took that fence down? I mean,
Yeah, I can tell you that side, it's on First Avenue side, because there's been trees growing through that fence for a year, the whole fence is already starting to go like this towards the road. The only spot I'd probably leave up is that one that separates Z-Bar's property from that property.
Where does it touch Z-Bar?
What's his name?
you're talking about
Council.
council.
Mr. Council.
Council, right? Yeah, Janet
Yeah.
Council.
Yeah.
Right.
Would we need to leave the one up separated from the clinic?
It's fell down.
Pull this down?
3/4 of that spot fell down too.
Well, then, if we don't need it there, and it makes it a lot more difficult to keep it up, why don't we
Take it
take it
down.
out?
Yeah,
Would
probably
that,
should.
is that a consensus to everybody that if you guys, I know you got a lot to do, but if you have the time to do it.
We tried to get to take that down the last time because we were in there taking down all the dead trees. And we were told to leave it up. So
Different game.
it wouldn't hurt much.
Different day, different council, and if everybody's in agreement, when you
I don't know.
have an opportunity to do it, if it's gonna benefit your ability to take care of that place, is to get it out of there.
I just think it'd make it look better.
Well, I think it would make it look better too, because everything is being
Because
mowed.
you got a strip out there on Blake's or Fergus side like that big.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the butt to get to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would make the whole corner look better.
I
myself.
do too. But I'm like you, maybe just leave the fence by Janet Council,
Mhm.
because I think she might have some plants or something growing.
She does, she's right.
Yeah. And it wouldn't hurt anything. I mean,
No,
you wouldn't even be able to really tell.
no.
So Chris, how long does it take you to do this property? A day?
About 2 days.
2 days?
Rolling.
And when you do this property, you edge a lot of them sidewalks too, don't you, Chris? Especially the ones out front.
What about the water tower?
Those are the two.
An hour?
So it takes about 2 days to do the town center.
What about North Road Park?
3 hours.
For North Road Park? And Nixon Park?
About the same. Not really. About 2 hours.
And you do the bathrooms every morning? Okay. So Louis, how long does it take to do Chipper Jones?
I can tell you about how long it takes me to do the baseball field. Other than that, I've never had the opportunity to get it all done in one shot. Because we're always getting called off on stuff and.
I get that, but approximately.
Just to do the baseball fields, it'll take me about, just mowing them, about a day and a half, 2 days.
Just inside the fence, you mean?
Inside the, yes, just inside the fence of the baseball field, I'll get in the playground All them other fields, it could probably be done. You could probably do it probably takes a good whole week to do it all.
To mow everything up
To
there.
mow everything, put weed killer out, to do it all. That's what I'm saying, I got a bunch of stuff. But you gotta remember, it's not just, cause you got 4 baseball fields that gonna have to be mowed twice a week because of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 in the back.
No, 3 up front and there's 1
And the
out
softball field,
Oh,
right?
yeah, the softball.
Yeah.
And the senior.
And the senior field.
But are you still mowing the other ones back there?
Yeah,
Other
I just
three?
mowed them yesterday. Just mowed all that back there yesterday.
And the tie down areas, that's not real big, right?
So I do the tie down areas from basically the old burn pile all the way to the mechanic shop.
Serving station.
Front.
Then I do all the way over there where all the hangers are. So that probably takes 2 or 3 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours.
About 3 hours for what you mow in the airport.
And then the inner streets takes probably
The
what?
inner streets, it took me, I did them today, about 3 hours.
Boy, that might take longer than that.
It's not that bad, really. I mean, if I keep doing the way I was always told to do them by Herbert, then that's about how long.
You mow like about 2 more widths.
Huh?
About
I
like
do about 2 passes on both sides.
yeah, double, 2 passes on each side basically. Yeah. And then the only one you really have the median in is one over on Fred. Well, you got it on
Yeah,
First Avenue too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first and first.
First Avenue and Fred, both of them have medians. And those medians are probably equal to about the right of way on each side of the street.
So Dustin, how long does it take to mow the airport?
If I don't get called off, 2 solid days, and that'll be without taking lunch possibly.
2 days. I figured it'd take a while to mow that.
And you mow it how often in the summer?
Usually I try to do it every 2 weeks.
Do you mow the actual strip with the tractor too? So you basically mow the whole, okay.
Yeah, you know, the three families up front.
Okay.
So the burn pile, the burn pile in County Road 3 and that little park, how long would that?
Burn pile's probably about 30 minutes or so. How thick it got at the time, and the little thing out there, fill out there, I think it took me like 2 hours. Yesterday, finished it up today.
Is that the place on,
Right there.
Pierson Frederick we were talking about?
Where you talking about over here, like, the little
Yeah.
lot?
By the clinic?
The little lot, oh, that's about 3 hours.
3 hours
Yeah.
with the tractor?
Yeah, cause you ain't going through there full speed on that tractor, roll and go for holes and stuff, and all the trees we dug up, so even in rough.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was told before with the whole tractor, because of clutch issues, not to know any higher than mid-gear, which is low. So low in 3rd gear is what I'm doing. Steady pace.
So,
How often do you mow the County Road 3 and those outside roads? Every other week? Every week?
Depends on how many times we get called off, if we got meters or something. That side probably takes me about 2.5 days. And this side over here, pretty much the remainder of the week, maybe have to go start on another, get the spot I didn't get to finish Friday on Monday, Tuesday.
On those sides, on the streets over there, on the tractors, normally like 1 pass on each side?
2 passes.
2.
Okay,
Yeah.
2 to 3, depending on where at.
okay.
The majority of it's 2 passes, and then like on furniture and stuff, or you get 1 extra pass, or you 1 extra pass, or down to the fire hydrant, or this on that side, wow. If I can make it.
Well, you didn't get everything that I do though. I still got the highway,
The what?
and I got the water, wells to do too. So the wells takes you about 2 hours, cause you're push mowing and weed eating. From the handy way down to Hackstrom, it takes a good half a day. Steadily mowing, I usually start about 7:38. And I'll get done, I'll get back to the handy way about noon. So, about 4.5, 5 hours. And then the other side, pretty much the same way. Going heading toward Palmetto.
You mow both sides of the highway all the way to Palmetto? With the zero turn?
A lot of wear and tear.
And that ain't even counting picking up the trash before we even start.
Yeah, and then we got trash on that pickup before we do that.
I thought we talked about DOT was supposed to take care of that.
Well, that's what we need to find out.
Strip,
Yeah.
that's part of it.
That's
We need, if I can ever get a hold of this guy, I'll
find out.
find out, because. But the thing about it, that what I saw was they do it monthly. And one time a month in the summertime, that's a long time between
Hey,
mowing.
they do it one time a month, that's a lot better than what they used to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they did it that often.
I haven't seen
I
them out here mowing since we started mowing.
I haven't seen them either.
Like I said, they get to Palmetto, and they just drive right by, going to their next section.
Yeah, I haven't seen them either.
I don't
Every now and
imagine
then.
they thought someone was doing it for them, they're not gonna
Right.
question it.
Yeah, they just collect money for it.
Well, if that fellow does have that DOT contract and his responsibility entails mowing that part of the highway, then DOT ought to be the one maintaining it, or the contractor.
Correct.
If he calls you back, I would ask him what their scope of work is. In other words, are you picking up trash too, or are you just mowing over it, or like, what does DOT actually do?
Oh, yeah, I
They
agree.
did, before we started mowing, they used to go down through there and pick up all the trash.
I see them picking up the trash before they move.
I see him picking
All
up
these
trash from the
contractors.
highway,
Yep.
wherever they're mowing, definitely.
Does the county mow south of Hickstrom Road going to work, like between this Hickstrom and that Hickstrom, does the county mow all that?
Mhm.
Because they were out there yesterday and they did a pretty good job. They had guys out there.
Yeah, they usually have guys out there on like 4-wheelers or.
Yeah, picking up trash.
Yesterday, like,
Some of them
around
have
signs
done
and stuff.
their zero turn mower now.
I don't think it's fair that Chris does them bathrooms every day.
Hey, I've done them every day for the first 10 years all by myself.
How many years you got in? Is it Dustin's turn? I'm just kidding.
You do them at Chipper Jones, and you also, when North Road Park's open, you have to do those too?
So basically, you do, when the other part's open, you're doing 4 bathrooms every day.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to Chris saying, we need to get more trouble.
I asked last night.
I've been cleaning these two.
They're still on order, right?
Are you cleaning these every day too?
Getting nasty.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 6 bathrooms?
That takes a while to clean 6 bathrooms.
Yeah, it does.
Especially that one over there at Chipper Jones, because.
Yeah, I bet that one's always a mess.
Listen, you can split them up. Chris can come up here, do these bathrooms. I mean, it'll give us something to do in the morning, because like I said, most of the time, during the school year, we don't, I always told them not to start until the new buses are off the road. So, I mean, usually that's why we always usually start around 8. So, I mean,
Well, it is difficult.
unless they can get North Road, I'll take Chipper.
It is difficult to mow in the mornings, especially over on this side of town when school's taking in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
or getting out in the afternoon, either one, if you're trying to mow in that area.
Well, I mean, like Lewis said, maybe each one of them take a set of bathrooms, since there's 3 bathrooms. And
Yeah.
Well, I think that would be, I think that would be fair if each one of them had a set of bathrooms, since we got three sets of bathrooms, instead of putting it all on credit.
That's just how it always used to be. It always fell to the little man on the totem pole.
Yeah.
So if you guys wanted to divide the bathrooms up,
I'd leave it to the foreman.
I'd leave it up to you,
Leave it up.
if that's what you guys
I
want
have
to
no
do.
problem with being in the bathroom, I've done it before.
As long as it gets done.
Well, I hope we get this grant, and that's part of our remodel on these that Chipper Jones need to be remodeled. And I think when we went over there and looked at them, maybe it was me and you, right? If you put like the tile in there where they could go in there with one of them little plug-in pressure washers and just hit it top to bottom every day. I mean, there's drains in the floor for that purpose. I mean,
I think if we
and
ever,
put metal and aluminum siding instead of the wood in there, just make it a little bit easier on all of them.
I think if we ever do redo or rebuild or make any new bathrooms, that we need to look at. The one I'm really familiar with is at the boat ramp at Port Orange. And they're
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
much bulletproof.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
are.
there's no doors,
Yeah. No
it's
doors.
all prison grade stainless steel sinks and toilets. When the day, I've been there in the morning when they're cleaning and they
No.
basically go in there and hose her out.
Yeah, I think that's just, I mean, if I had a clean bathroom every day, that's what I would want to do, especially if people are crapping on the floor.
Yes.
Yeah, that's gross.
Well, that's been, you know,
That's gross. I would walk out.
almost every weekend, you can go in here on Saturday and Sunday and expect a pile on the floor in the same exact spot.
That's so gross.
It's the same person, so we got a camera y'all can put up?
We talked, but I don't know if we're technically allowed to point them at the bathrooms.
We don't.
He
don't-
said at
No,
the meeting.
on the outside.
Just on the
On the
outside.
outside.
You don't have.
See who's coming in.
We can pinpoint, with the time on that camera, we can pinpoint
Who's
doing it.
right?
Yeah, all you, it's not an invasion as long as you
No.
don't have one inside that door.
Correct.
Yeah, because I wanted to put one inside about 10 years ago.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I said, my gosh, let's catch you son of a bitch.
Yes.
Doing it. And
Disgusting.
make an
It's
example of
always
it.
in the girls' right.
But I think we need to, we can document the time of somebody going in there.
Right.
It'll be easy to narrow down to it.
I think if Bill McKinnon was our attorney then, he said, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
I would too.
You can't put a camera in the bathroom.
I have nothing further, and I hate to come up here and bitch. But we gotta just work together as a team. Gotta stay forward and keep moving. I don't know if any of y'all are aware, but the state of Florida, the governor has implemented a DOJ task force, and they're going to be auditing the counties and the cities, and they're going to be looking at efficiency. So I don't want us getting in trouble. I don't want us, you know what I'm saying? I don't want the state saying, okay, you gotta get rid of a person.
Y'all not sending any of our money to Uganda or anywhere, are you?
Oh, God.
The only thing I would like to add is that I know that there are times when work orders are necessary. If you run across something that the guys may not know about it, so you can document it and take it care of, and that will help them cover their time. But I just want to say, if you see something out there, do something. If you ride by the road by Pierson Supply right now, there's a couple pieces of tire that blew off of a vehicle that are laying there on the right of way, and there's some large things like that. If you go by no matter what street it is, and you see something laying there, just take a minute and pick it up and throw it in the back of the truck, and throw it in the dumpster. And and I know it's going to take at least 5 or 10 minutes if you stop and do that. By the time you pick it up, put it in the truck, leave it. And I understand all that, but if you see something like that laying there, just take the opportunity to pick it up. That's the only thing I would,
Right.
that's the only thing I have. Marcy?
I have one thing to add. So the county gets a lot more days, holidays or whatever than what we do.
I just looked today, there's only 2 that they get more than you. Good Friday and Martin Luther King. I checked that today.
I would like to see us get a little more days, holidays, but that's it, that's all I wanted to
We
say.
currently have 9 in the book. And the only 2 that I showed was Good Friday and Martin Luther King Day that we don't have that the county does.
Well, I think that's something that if anybody needs to bring that up, it needs to come up on the agenda of the council meeting.
Just to update you, Ryan gave me all the ordinances regarding the charters.
Oh, good.
And so he was able to find it, already, and, it looks like 2 things occurred in 2016. First, just as a little bit of history on municipal power, before home rule was adopted in the late 60s in the Constitution, and then in the 70s, early 70s in the state law, the cities only had the power that was granted to them in the charter. Your charter was a granting document adopted by the legislature, and so everything you had the authority to do had to be outlined in the charter. And this ordinance, what they did in 2016 is you had a charter review. The charter review looked at it. Well, let me stop. Then home rule came into place. And that was in the late 60s, early 70s. What home rule basically said is cities, you have all the authority to operate that you need, except under certain things, conditions, and you can't be inconsistent with state law, county charter provision, federal law, things like that. So what happened with the adoption of home rule is your charter, instead of being a granting document or granting true authority, the charter became a limiting document. Because now you have all the authority that you can have, except it's limited by certain things, which includes your charter. So now your charter becomes a limiting document. And when the law was adopted in 1973, it specifically said that except in certain specified areas, every other limitation of power became an ordinance and could be amended and nullified by ordinance without going through a referendum. So in 2016, your charter review went back and said, well, since 1973, we've had no charter amendments since 1973. So we're going to take a whole bunch of these powers, make them ordinances, and repeal a bunch of them. So that is ordinance 2016-01. Then there was an ordinance 2016-02, which was a referendum that made certain changes to your charter, more cosmetic than anything else, like repealing the enabling part and stuff like that. Nothing, didn't look like that was a substantive one. And then in 2020, you had another ordinance that submitted a referendum question which dealt with the mayor's position and merging it together. Both of these ordinances, the 2016 one and the 2020 one, says, here's the question, and if the questions are approved, this is how this section is going to read. So I'm guessing that maybe they thought that's all that was needed, because this now says this is how this code section of the charter is going to read. The law requires that the city actually incorporate it into the charter and file the new charter with the Department of State. I don't know if that was done, but we probably ought to just do it anyway. So what I can do is update your charter through the 2020 adoption and say, okay, this is what it currently says now. And then probably bring it back to you and maybe a resolution or ordinance, I'll think about that. Have you validate it, saying, okay, that's what our charter now says, it's on file with the city, and staff can then file that with the Department of State. And so we have everything on file and record that shows this is our entire charter. The part about you being the judge is still in there. That never came out.
So it does need to come out.
So I'm not sure.
I don't want that responsibility if I could have it.
But, there needs to be a way to do code enforcement. I don't know, how do y'all do code enforcement right now?
We have a DRA.
A
The
DRA.
DRA.
What is a DRA?
Development Regulation
Regulating
Administrator.
administrator.
Development Regulation Administrator.
That, so if someone has high grass and weeds, that's your code enforcement officer.
Correct.
Which is Elon.
Elon. Okay, but then who makes the determination of violation and levies a fine? From there.
I didn't hear the question.
They file a report, and then Yvonne investigates it. And then if she's got questions, she either asks our town planner or the attorney, you know, is this a violation of our code, in other words? And then I think Christian helped you draft letters to people, basically, if they were in violation of stuff.
But is there ever a hearing? I mean,
Usually they rectify the problem prior to.
right, there's not, but I mean, if there's gonna be a hearing, is the hearing before you?
No,
Who's it
Christian
before?
said the appeal board was supposed to be the Volusia County Code Enforcement.
Right,
Yes.
right, yeah.
If they would agree
If they would
to,
agree to it, yeah.
right.
But I thought that to move forward with the DRA, he had to have their approval, so I thought he had gotten
I
that.
thought so too.
I don't know.
If not, there was discussion of a special magistrate who could serve as a special magistrate, but we never really ironed that out, because we haven't had to do that.
But years ago, Gray and I were on planning and zoning together, and we acted as the board of enforcement.
Okay.
For, an issue.
Right. That's
Um,
what I was just kind of questioning, how do y'all go through, if you actually have to go through?
but then Christian alluded to that was not proper.
Well,
Well, I don't
Christian
know.
stated that the council could not be that board.
Right.
Because basically.
This council can't
Yeah.
set ordinances and then police them as well.
But planning and zoning, you know, I mean, we worked on a
That's
pretty
what we
big
were,
deal.
the planning and zoning board heard a pretty extensive problem
Yes.
that we had many years ago. Wade was our attorney.
Correct.
Wade Bose was our attorney and had to do with basically a junkyard that developed here in the middle of town. And we successfully negotiated that, navigated through it, and ended up with a proper outcome.
Planning and zoning.
But
Acted
planning
as-
and zoning
acted
acted
as-
as that.
That's
board.
the board. of
Are they
enforcement.
still, do they still have that authority today?
I don't, that's what I'm saying. I think Christian
I don't
alluded
think so.
to.
I don't think so. I
we couldn't
mean,
do that. I wish the hell it was that way.
I mean, it happened and it went through with Wade Bose, and these people were pretty big, had a lot of money behind them, and they had attorneys and everything else, and it was successfully
Through
navigated then, and I don't know why it couldn't be.
That's
Yeah.
something we can get clarification from Mark, because it has something to do with a state law. Mark said something to do with his land development stuff. It had to be a DRA.
Right, because our comp plan says
There's something in the
you have to have a,
Development there's,
And that's
in that plan, it specifically states that you need to have a DRA, a
And that's
Development
how it's
Regulation Administrator,
That's
which
how
is
it's
the
written.
person that
Yeah.
is basically in charge of enforcing all those regulations.
right, and the charter or the whatever said,
The LDR, the land development.
well, yeah, the LDR said it has to be
DRA.
an employee of the
Has to
town.
be an employee of the town to be the DRA.
Well, that's
That's Yvonne,
Yvonne, right?
yes.
I just want to make sure we have a mechanism for enforcing codes, that's all.
All we have is a DRA. I don't
I-
think we have all the rest of the
I'll
mechanisms.
talk with them and talk with Mark to see. 'Cause typically, you have one or two choices. You have a code enforcement board, which is made up of citizens, or you have a special magistrate. And that's usually an attorney or retired attorney, somebody. And they hear the case. It might be, usually pay those people, so that might be costly to get them to come out here. You could do a code enforcement board. The issue with code enforcement board is that sometimes the personalities involved and it just becomes a vendetta board.
Our mayor for years before Mr. Bennett.
Yeah.
He went to all the mayor meetings every month. And he would come back and tell us, fellas, you don't ever want to have a code enforcement board. It's in our town.
But you want to
And
enforce it.
I'm one of them. I will not agree to a code enforcement board
And that's fine.
because I know it makes a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And this small community, you got a lot of, yeah,
It can be a problem.
it could be a big problem.
And usually that's why
Big
a
problem.
lot of cities have gone to special magistrates. Lake Helen was just trying to find someone to serve as a special magistrate. And it was hard to find.
And we don't have a whole lot of code enforcement problems anyhow. We do have some.
We've got some problem areas.
We do
That's
have
the
some
truth.
problem areas. We
Yeah.
got some areas down on West Hastings. There's a problem over on, East Third Avenue.
Yeah.
But there's,
a
I mean,
problem.
we don't have a whole lot of problems, and I'm like, the vice mayor. I mean, I don't wanna go by everybody's house once a week and tell them they need to mow their grass and that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, I have seen some places that get kind of unkept, but they were eventually caught up without taking any action.
But I think our ordinances are suffice to handle
Yes.
that, right?
And that's what I'll find out. You just need to make sure you have a mechanism, because the charter says that it goes to you. So that's, you're the judge. So I didn't know if that's how you handle it or.
No, we do not.
The LDR has been updated since then to include the language about the developmental, whatever it is, regulations administrator. So
The
there
problem
again,
is,
the charter and the LDR now might be in conflict because we didn't put
Right.
anything in the
That's the
charter.
problem. There's been a lot of new things implemented, but the old stuff that was in there in the past has not been eliminated or taken out or changed. Or whatever.
Scott, if you look at the town charter on the website, I do think that the 2016 stuff did get incorporated into that.
Yes, that's
Only
the
because they
2016.
removed all the stuff and made it into ordinances.
That's a
So I think it's the 2020 stuff that needs to
Yeah,
go.
the 2020 is not. I don't know, they may have done the first 26, the referendum, there's two things in 2016.
I think the one in 2016,
2020.
I think literally all they added on the one was that you have to be a resident of the town for a year before you could run for council. I think that was the only change in one of those. So, or it was one of the questions on the ballot.
Yeah.
I have people ask me every now and then, well, I'd like to run for the council. Well, you don't live in Pierson. I have a Pierson address.
Yeah.
There's people with mailboxes, you know. They don't
Right.
live in this incorporated limits.
I did speak with Lieutenant Huffman this morning
Okay.
and told him, you know, that I said I can't go anywhere. There's somebody bitching about speeding and I said, he said, oh, I said, do motors, are they the only ones that can help us? And he said, oh, no. I said, so all your deputies have the capability to run radar and write tickets? Oh, absolutely. I said, well, good. I said, but, you know, I'm hearing that some of your deputies are parking in certain areas like the Lions Club for 3 and 4 hours at a time. I said, can you explain that to me? He said, I beg your pardon? They're not allowed to sit anywhere for over an hour. I said, then buddy, as a taxpaying citizen, you need to look at some GPSs, is what I told him.
I did see last night on Facebook that there was some racing on Bannock.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So they said it's been happening every night here lately.
So, put it out there.
Right, well, if I see a cop, I'm gonna tell him.
In defense of the sheriff, when I went home, I went that way on the main road here,
Mhm.
and there were 3 cops pulling over people right down here.
Good.
Good deal.
Probably because you said something to him.
That probably, maybe at the meeting last
Oh,
night,
that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
and that caused responsible action.
Exactly.
I don't care.
There were 3 people pulled over, 3 cop cars. I said, well, that was quick.
Here's another metric you can kind of go by, like last year on average, okay, so we get a portion of the citation fees from any traffic citations that are issued here, right? It used to run $150, $175 a month, and that's a very small portion of, I mean, a $200 ticket, we get like $10 or something, you know? But those traffic citation fees that they send us went from like $150 to $175 a month. Last month, they sent us $38.
What?
They wrote 3 tickets the entire month in the town of Pierson.
Oh.
I asked
You're
him,
kidding
remember
me.
their little report report that they came and
Yeah,
gave?
yeah.
And they said they had written 687 citations last year. I said, buddy, let me ask you this. Was that in the Pierson proper, or was that in the whole 21 north end zone?
Right.
Oh, no, that was just the Pierson, the 14 zone.
Well, then they didn't.
I said, I find it hard to believe that 2 people a day got a ticket in the Pierson
Limits.
proper.
And I'm thinking that 600 and something included warnings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they still write that as a citation.
As a citation.
It's a warning.
yes, I
Because
said, this
I don't
is,
think they're ticketing.
no,
Well, maybe that's another question we have for Volusia County. How come our citations went from 175 a month down to 38? I mean, there's,
And like my cousin had a
Everybody
baby
started
shower.
obeying the law.
everybody's, yeah, right.
My cousin had a baby shower at the community center, and we got there at like 11 o'clock that morning to set up, and the 2 cops were parked out in the middle of Chipper Jones Park.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Talking, and when we left at 5 o'clock, they had never moved.
I see them now.
7 hours.
Yeah, I see them there a lot.
They're sitting more than an hour at a time.
Correct. Well, we see that right over here,
Right
right?
across the street, you can see it.
They-
Yeah, a lot of times they're-
Parked up in the back, you hear about the back retention.
Yeah, no, that's removed.
They park right back here. They come in through the gates there.
Well, and some nights when I need to go home, they're parked over
Over
up
by
in the woods at the airport.
Yep, I've seen them there.
Behind the woods out there.
They also, that one, I woke up, I knocked on the window, I had to get into the well, and he was there sleeping.
What do you want for $306,000 a year?
Right.
19.
Yeah.
319? What do you want for 319?
319.
Oh, God. I have nothing for you, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else? I wanna let everybody know that, Chris is going to a training class on Friday, on the 14th. So if you start hunting Chris, he's gonna be out of pocket from about 8 to 3, somewhere in that area. Whoops, excuse me. That's what he's gonna be doing. I had an extra copy of it.
Okay.
I already got, I know.
All right, you got it?
Yeah, I already read all mine.
10 4.
I do it for Pete.
Yeah.
I think you were in the office when we were talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, might have been.
But you do know he has to keep up with so many of these CEUs every year. He has to have so many under.
Every 3 years.
3 years.
Every
right.
3 years.
So many CEUs and so many of the other.
4 core and 4 core and 4
Right.
standard every 3
Right.
years to renew your pesticide
Yes.
license. You have a pesticide license, you can go in to get it.
Going to get it.
No, this isn't for a pesticide license. It's basically just some training for,
Have you been to one? Because that's what they're.
Yeah, but that's what this is.
This
See,
what-
see
this
that
what
CEU?
it's a-
Okay, all right. Okay, good. Well, then that's wonderful.
See, I could go to this and get 6 CEUs
Yes.
towards my renewing my
Right.
Yeah, okay.
restricted use pesticide license.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
No, that's
Is
what.
this at the
That's the ag,
Ag
place
Center.
there at,
Yeah,
at
Karen-
Fairgrounds.
Karen Stouderman?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
have-
St. Patty's
And they
Day.
have them every couple months. So.
They normally have them once in the spring and once in the fall.
The only reason I was aware of it, I got an
Halloween,
email
St.
from,
Patty's Day.
I got an email from, I think his name's Pat
Pat
Coolin or something like
yeah.
that. And, I saw it and I thought it might behoove one of the guys to, check it out. You never need to quit learning. Anybody got anything else?
Nope.
No further business, meeting is adjourned.